What's up, design family, and welcome back to another episode of Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you back on the channel. Before we get started, if you guys are not subscribed, please consider doing so. We put out great content on a week-to-week basis, and it would mean the absolute world to us for you to join us along for the ride. On today's episode, we'll be looking at the 3 key types or printing styles for printing on fashion garments. Having bold and beautiful patterns can be a major asset to any collection. But let's face it, there is absolutely nothing worse than having a poorly printed pattern with soft edges and the wrong color representation. So the question here is, how do you make sure that the custom design that you've worked endlessly to design and produce is going to be represented properly in the finished manufactured garment? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be discussing on today's episode. We'll be going over the 3 key printing styles that you'll need to know and hopefully give you a clear idea of the pros and cons of each and which one is going to be right for your specific use case scenario. Hey guys, and welcome to Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you here. On this channel, we discuss all things sports fashion, graphic design, manufacturing, and technology. We'll discuss key topics, answer pressing questions, and provide actionable steps on starting your own product line. If you're interested in any of the above topics, stick around. You're in for a good one. When it comes to the 3 key ways that we pattern print on clothing, number 1 is going to be what is known as the direct printing method. And this method is by far the simplest and therefore one of the most popular ways of printing patterns onto the garments themselves. So in this method, let's just say you have a blue dress that you'd like to apply a pink floral pattern print to. In this method, the way is quite simple. We take the finished dyed blue fabric and we apply the pink floral pattern print exactly where we need it, thus resulting in the finished garment. So in this stage, you're both applying the pattern directly onto the garment and the garment is already in its semi-finished stage. It doesn't need to undergo further dyeing or any other further processes. Number 2 is going to be the discharge printing method. This is otherwise known as extract printing and is an extremely popular option for printing very fine, sharp, and detailed patterns onto dark colored garments. It is a great option for that, and in this method, what we see are the designated areas where we actually want the finished pattern print are, let's just say they're treated with a print paste that has reducing or discharging agents that remove the base color fabric's dye. And once it's washed, what you'll see is that area of dye is completely removed, leaving the light color behind. So you're almost working in reverse in this case. You have the finished dye fabric, you apply the pattern print using this reducing agent, and once you wash it, the areas where you had that reducing agent effectively remove the dye, thus having the final pattern print show. Also, it's important to note that this is a very popular option for printing on cotton-based garments where a lot of sharpness, contrast, and clarity are needed in the finished pattern print. With cotton, there are a lot of limitations for printing pattern prints, and discharge printing is a great option when you can't use sublimation printing because obviously sublimation printing is not an option for cotton-based garments. The last method that we're going to be describing today is going to be the resist printing method. And this essentially gives a very similar effect to the discharge printing method we just outlined before. But in this case, it's a much better option to use when the base color that you're trying to dye onto is extremely difficult to discharge and remove. So in this method, we take our reducing or our resist paste and apply it onto the undyed fabric. So this is before we dye it. And once we end up dyeing the fabric with the reducing paste and then we wash it off, what happens is the light color that was the original grayish color of the fabric ends up being shown underneath and the bolder, more vibrant areas end up being dyed. So we're almost working the previous option in reverse, and this is a great option again to use on bold and vibrant colors where you honestly don't want to put in the time and energy to have to remove the color once you've already applied it. Well, that is pretty much it, guys. That is a wrap on today's episode. By now, you should have a much clearer understanding of the 3 key printing types that we typically see for printing pattern prints onto clothing. And hopefully you'll never get caught on the back foot when it comes to representing your beautiful pattern prints onto your finished garments, regardless of what the pattern print actually is, what actual fabric you're printing on, and what the finished composition of the garment is. If you guys enjoyed this episode and feel like you've learned a thing or two, please smash a thumbs up. It really does help us out, and it lets more people see these episodes, and it keeps us motivated to keep creating this amazing content for you guys. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Fittdesign TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.